Welcome back, everyone. I'm Zell, and today we're going to see what's inside the Wisp. Alright guys, I've already had the pocket clip off of this guy because I set it up for tip up left-hand carry as an offhand carry knife. And it has done great. As I'll talk about in the reviews, I hope to remember to anyhow, on all three of these small wee knives. What we end up with is they have done such a good job of going to the other end of the spectrum, completely off of what we normally does, and built really nice, small, light knives. I think all of them are under 3 ounces, and something to note here while I'm blathering about other things is we have a long screw here for the pocket clip, which I'm going to set over here with the pocket clip, and we have a short screw. And you need to keep track of those if you're going to swap sides on your pocket clip. So we'll get the rest of the screws out of this, and we've got 2 body screws and our pivot screw, all T8s, and we will test the screws here in just a moment before I get them all out of there. I always forget that because Wee does such a good job with their screws. But here you go. There's your Weehaw. Barely any slop in there at all. And there's Weehaw again. Same thing. Barely any slop. Just super great screws. And we'll go ahead and pull the rest of these out. They've went so far off the mark. So far from what we're used to seeing from Wee. It's almost unbelievable because these knives, like I said, I think they're all under 3 ounces. And being under 3 ounces is just an amazing thing for Wee because most of the time you get a Wee knife, and the Wee knife, and this, we're going to pull it apart here, should be able to lift the lock bar up, give it a little wiggle, and it should come apart, maybe. I don't want to cut myself. There we go. Come apart a little tougher than normal, but still not bad at all. I've had some that fought me worse, and that little thing came out, which is beautiful because you guys always seeing me fighting with those. So let's get the bearings out, get that blade out of there. Well, we're going to see, actually, we're going to see how this thing rides. And that's how it rides inside. Very nicely cut, very nicely done by Wee. And we'll go ahead and pull the pivot out and get that other bearing out that just tried to roll off on me, of course, and get our backing washer out. These things can be a little pain in the rear. There we go. Back to what I was saying, they have went so far off the reservation from what they normally do that these knives are just, it's like a breath of fresh air from Wee. You know, we all knew they were capable of building some great knives in that lightweight class. The Ignition, oh my goodness. You know, there are many of you out there that love that knife, and I actually love the knife too. I don't want to have to deal with the VG10. I'm not a fan of that steel in any way. But what they've done here is they've brought the construction of the full-size knives down to smaller knives. They have made a few adjustments and given us some really nice light knives with really nice thin slicey blade stock, dramatic hollow grinds, and just hit that light middleweight EDC category, with some thunder in what I think is an underserved category of knives. There are so many out there in the over 3-inch class with 3 or 4 millimeter blade stock, and under 3-inch class that have 4 millimeter plus blade stock, but there's not a lot. I shouldn't say nothing. There's not a lot right around 3 inches as far as blade length goes with that thin blade stock and great design. And that's what Wee has brought us. Now let's get a look at this backspacer. This is a carbon fiber backspacer. See if we can get the camera to focus there. There we go. Very nicely done. That's part of their weight reduction because I can already hear a bunch of you screaming. I can hear you all the way here in the Ozarks that there's no milling out here. Well, no, there's not. Why is there not? Because they got inlay in here And if you get a look at how, see if I can get this on the camera for you, where you can see it well. It's going to be a little, there we go. You can see that light down through there. That inlay of carbon fiber is deep, friends and neighbors. It is not just some little thin slab. That's probably, it's looking like it's close to 3 millimeter. Let me see if I can use the depth into the caliper and get kind of a view of maybe how deep that is. It's going to be a little tough, but I'll give it a shot. Okay, we got her closed, zero it out. And for this, we really want to be on millimeters because that's what we're going to be comparing. Because whenever you buy carbon fiber, it's usually, the stuff I have bought has been in millimeters. And this is like a deal where I need 6 more hands. Okay, that's fairly close. So it's somewhere more than 3 millimeters thick. And just for those of you that need inches, that's 0.135. That's pretty thick. And don't take that as an absolute measurement. But that's some deep carbon fiber they put in there. And they've also done something a little different this round. With the Zephyr, they had some problems with the end up near the pivot being a little bit sharp. The knife I had in for review had that problem, and some of the other reviewers that had that same knife picked up on that problem. I don't think it's something that happened with every knife, but what they've done this time is if you look around this thing, they have purposely rounded off what could have been a sharp corner and left it just a smidge proud all the way around. And I am not against that. I think it's a very good idea whenever you're doing production stuff. Anything you can do to make sure that you've got beautiful fit, which they do, and make sure that it's not sharp for the customer on those inlays is a good idea. And that's what they've done by leaving it just a little proud and just knocking the edge, softening that edge all the way around. I like how they've done it. I think it was a smart idea to do that and not try to get that perfect, super perfect inlay, even though, I mean, look guys, they did a bang up job getting that stuff in there. Very, very nice. Anything else we need to look at on the knife itself? You know, some of you have been concerned that the carbon fiber would be your over travel stop. It is not. Your over travel stop is right there on the lock bar insert, ceramic detent ball of course, and it goes right up against the frame in that little cutout pocket right there. So no problems there. You're not going to be pushing your carbon fiber out. And this is the two things that make this knife light, and I think this one's right around 3 ounces, maybe a little under, is backspacer, carbon fiber. Doesn't weigh anything. In fact, well, let's just do this. I've got these two knives apart right now. Let me move some screws around, and we'll bring in the scale. It's always fun to do stuff like that. Get the scale in here where you can see it. Turn it on. That backspacer doesn't have any sleeves, so we'll take the other sleeve out, or push the other sleeve out of this one. And we're on ounces at the moment. 0.11 ounces. Let's put the carbon fiber, let it zero itself. Put the carbon fiber down there. 0.04. We'll go over to grams real quick. 1.2 grams. 3.2 grams. So more than double the weight. Even though it's a small fraction, it's more than double the weight. And just for fun, we'll do carats, because that's always great. That's 16.5 carats. That's 5 carats. 5 carats of carbon fiber. So, there you go, guys. We'll set that off to the side. We'll get this thing all cleaned up. And I am still using alcohol. You guys gave me so much crap about using acetone. But it's not a problem if you pay attention to what you're doing. And there we go. And by the way, this is our zebra towel. And we need to get a little more on there and get our screws cleaned up. Alright, here's our two same size screws. Ooh, that one about jumped out on me. That one did too, man. I don't need that. These little screws trying to run off. They're not magnetic, so ugh, they can be a pain in the rear to find. Set that one back over there with the pocket clip. And do be aware that pocket clip does have one long screw in it, so if you go to swap your pocket clip around, be sure to take note of that. And this thing cleaned up, had a little gunk under it. There we go. Now we shake up the Vibratite, get her all Vibratated up, and then you guys know the drill. You get it instantly. I've got to wait for half an hour while the Vibratite cures, but we'll get it all back together. And guys, this of the three knives, everybody is going to have their favorite, and this is mine. I know that it doesn't fit that 3-inch blade length limit thing, but I don't have to worry about that much where I live. So the 3.2 doesn't get me in trouble. So I just think this is just a super smooth little knife. Now, if I was in that 3-inch blade length place, the rectifier and the vapor are still super awesome little knives. And I would have a hard time choosing between the two of those. I really would. Anyhow, I'm going to snap my fingers and we'll be putting it back together. Alright guys, here we go, putting back together the Wisp. One thing that whenever I took the other two knives apart, and I don't know what order they're going to be released in, but I didn't really talk about it. One of them had a really, really tight stop pin, and the other one, the stop pin came out just like this one. But, you remember that knife a while back that we looked at the stop pin on and it was really crazy loose? Well, this is a wee stop pin. Now, let me see if I can anchor this guy. There is the minutest amount of wobble in there, but nothing like that knife that we took apart a while back and it was like wah 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 wah. Nope, none of that. So Wee's tolerances, as we all knew, are very tight. They do a great job of that, great job of machining. So backing washer back down in there. We got counter bores in the handles. So we want the open side of the bearing down in that counter bore. And we want a little bit of, make sure I get the right stuff. Yeah, I got the 10 weight. Want a little bit of that in there with it. And there we go. And now, well, I got ahead of myself. Let's get this thing back in place. And let's get a screw in there. Aha. So that screw, I wasn't thinking, but okay, we can do this. We can go ahead and put our pocket clip on there, I suppose. So the pocket clip takes one of the long screws, and it takes one of the shorter screws. Don't tighten the first one down real tight. You want to get both of them in there for alignment before you do that. Once you've got both of them in there and going in, then you can snug them down. Nice solid pocket clip on there. Got our sleeve back in, our back spacer back in, and probably ought to put our pivot back in. And don't forget about that little step right there. And I forgot about that. I didn't get the step lined up right, so I'm going to have to spin it around. There we go. Nope. Man, this dude is tight. very tight. I think we're good there. Yep, that looks right. So now, back with our backing washer. We already oiled that down, so we'll throw it in there. On this one, we'll give it a little bit. It probably doesn't need it, but we'll give it just a drop right there on the pivot sleeve itself. Drop our blade on here. Once we got the blade in there, get our 85 weight out and give that detent hole just a little bit of that big, thick, sticky 85 weight oil. And there we go. From there, it's time to see if this one goes together like all the rest. I'm still amazed. I know, I say it every time. You guys can give me crap for that. Whatever. But I'm still amazed that those go together. All these modern knives go together so freaking beautifully. And they can go together better whenever you forget to put the bearings in them. Because then there's less stuff in there to get in the way. So, we'll try that again. Put a little oil on that bearing. Put our backing washer on. Get our... And I'm holding that wee pivot in place just because I don't want it to move at all. And there we go. Everything just... And I know, you guys are tired of hearing me say it. Everything just snaps together like it's supposed to. The machining in 2017 and 18 have just been beautiful. And yeah, you guys have heard it before. But it's the way it is. Whenever I can take apart lots of different brands of knives, and they just go right back together just like they're supposed to. It's a beautiful thing, and such a change from just not that long ago, whenever even taking an expensive knife apart, it was a challenge to get it back together and get everything working smooth again. And taking apart a inexpensive knife, oh, sometimes it was just like, forget it. You're not winning. So, there we go. Get our last screw back in there. And, yep, went a little tight. And with these lighter blades, your pivot screws on these knives have a little more bearing on how things line up and certain fitment. But there's no blade play in that, and we're about as drop-free as you're going to get with a 2.5mm blade or 0.1. Wow. And I did. I remembered to put it back tip up left hand so I can carry it as secondary carry. That is just beautiful. You guys have a wonderful day. You've just seen what's inside, how to get there, and how to get it back together of the Wisp. Such a freaking phenomenal little knife. I'm really loving this thing. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.